Hi there, the name's Nico, and today I'll be covering the next 6 characters in Eternal Return Black Survival Food Routes. These 6 characters are Xiukai, Chiara, Sissela, Silvia, Adriana, and Shoichi. If you didn't watch the first or second part of the series, feel free to check it out. It will be part of a playlist as well. Just a quick note, all builds can make hamburgers by killing animals that drop meat, which include chickens, boars, wolves, and bears. If there are not many good food options on your path, make hamburgers. They provide 600 HP and are a good starting food. Just make sure to make more food later in the game. First, we have Xiukai. Xiukai has 2 weapons, Dagger and Spear. For Spear, there are 2 main spears people use, Lance of Poseidon and Fangtian Hyunjin. For the Lance of Poseidon build, the build is a CDR tank build that goes hotel, pond, avenue, alley. There's not much you can build between hotel and pond, but between pond and avenue, there's a bunch of food you can make. You can make choco pie boxes by grabbing boxes in pond and then grabbing chocolate in avenue. You can also make healing potions by making orchids in pond, and once you make it to avenue, you find glass bottles and turn it to healing potions. You can also make a bunch of butter related food, such as pound cake, honey butter, and chocolate chip cookies. In terms of SP drinks, in hotel, you can make highballs or on the rocks. You can also make lemonade, ice water, and cocktails in hotel, but they don't provide as much SP. For the Fangtian Huaji build, it is a tanky skill amp build. The route goes factory, forest, uptown, beach, and school. On this route, you want to drop the bread that you are given and grab a bunch of lighters in factory. I was able to carry 2 stacks of lighters, plus I boiled the water I started with, since you don't need the water with this build. What you want to make is oriental concoctions or hard-boiled eggs in forest with the boiled water. SP-wise, you want to make hot honey water. You need to make hot honey water in forest because you will be low on SP at this point. The more lighters you can grab, the better, since Xiukai's passive makes him a monster late game by cooking foods and or drinks. For Dagger, there is one main weapon people use, the Mount Slicer. There are some Damascus Steel Thorn builds, but they aren't as good as Mount Slicer on Xiukai. For the build I found, it goes forest, chapel, cemetery, factory, pond. If you use this build, make sure you move quickly between chapel and cemetery because you don't get your weapon until 4th zone. This is a top build for Dagger Xiukai, by the way. For this build, you want to make healing potions, make orchids in forest, and once you reach chapel, grab some glass bottles and make healing potions. You can also make honey butter and pound cake if you didn't make orchids. SP wise, you want to make honey water in forest. You can also make honey milk between forest and chapel. You can make better SP drinks later in the game. For Chiara, there are 2 variations, tank and crit. Both of these types are viable. For tank, your route might be cemetery, hospital, archery range, hotel, beach. Between cemetery and hospital, you want to make mocha bread by grabbing coffee in cemetery and alcohol in hospital. SP wise, you can make white Russians by making coffee liqueur like what you did for mocha bread and adding milk. Or you can make iced coffee in cemetery by grabbing ice in cemetery or hospital and coffee in cemetery. You can also make ice water since you don't use water in your build. For crit, you would go pond, avenue, hotel, alley. Between pond and avenue, you want to make either choco pie boxes or healing potions. For choco pie boxes, grab boxes in pond and then find chocolate in avenue. For healing potions, make orchids by combining flowers and oriental herbs in pond and then grab glass bottles in avenue. You'll need 3 glass bottles in your build, so it'll probably be easier to make choco pie boxes. If you make orchids, make sure you don't use the flower you need for your weapon. So you'll need to find 2 flowers and 1 oriental herb if you want to make healing potions. SP wise, make honey milk and avenue. For Sissela, she has 2 weapons, Throw and Shuriken. For Throw, I'll cover 2 builds, a Ruthenium marble build and a David Sling build. You might see an Antioch build, but those are rare, and covering more than 2 builds per weapon would make this video too long. So for the Ruthenium marble build, your route would be archery range, school, alley, pond, factory, chapel. Alley is really just a quick stop since you can grab whatever you need in alley and pond, so don't worry if you don't grab the items there. For food, you want to make choco pies in archery range. If you don't eat them, turn them into choco pie boxes once you reach pond. To make your weapon, you boil water anyway, so just use this water to make either hard-boiled eggs for food or hot chocolate for SP, since the cell often has SP problems. If you don't find enough or any chocolate, you can also make hot honey water in alley. For the David Sling build, your route is chapel, dock, uptown, factory. This build has not been as popular lately because of the David Sling nerfs a month or 2 ago. This was the top build in the uses tab when making this video, so it may be seeing a resurgence. In chapel, there's not really any food you can make. In dock, you can make buns by combining bread that you started with or you picked up in dock and coffee. If you grab extra water in chapel, you can boil it and make hot ramen, which you can turn into garlic ramen later on if you don't eat it. You can also make choco pie boxes if you grab extra boxes in dock and grab chocolate in uptown. SP wise, you can make Americano if you boil the water you grabbed from chapel, or you can make lattes by grabbing milk in chapel and coffee in dock. For Shuriken, there are a few options, but I'll cover the most common ones being a Wind and Fire Wheels build and a Petal Torrent build. Petal Torrent is not that popular in NA, but it was the highest use build at the time of this recording, so I'll cover it. For Wind and Fire Wheels, your route would be Temple, Beach, Uptown, School, and Alley. Any route that goes between Temple and Beach sucks food and drink wise. You will want to make garlic bread in Temple. You can make better food later on, but garlic bread is decent food in the early game. SP wise, you will struggle in Beach. You want to find carbonated water and just chug it. If you are somehow full SP in Beach, hold on to any carbonated waters you find and make highballs in Uptown by combining whiskey and carbonated water. You can also make lemonades and cocktails in Uptown by combining lemons and either whiskey or carbonated water. For the Petal Torrent build, your route goes archery range, school, hotel, pond, cemetery. This build, you're contesting Hotel Tree to make Bracelet of Scotty, and Scotty is the best in slot for Sissela. You want to make either choco pies in archery range, but if you don't find chocolate, make hamburgers. You'll need both of your waters early on, so do not use them to cook. You can grab more water in hotel though to make better food and drinks later on. SP wise, you want to make highballs or on the rocks in hotel. You can also make lemonade and cocktails in hotel by combining whiskey and either carbonated water or ice. You need 2 ice for your build, so make sure you find extra ice, but that shouldn't be an issue early on. For Silvia, there's a lot of builds you can do, but I'll cover the top 2 builds. One is a Magnum Boa auto attack build, and the other is an Elegance CDR build. For Magnum Boa, your route is archery range, school, hotel, beach, and dock. You'll be making the same food and drinks as the Petal Torrent Sissela build. You are making choco pies and archery, and if you didn't find any chocolate, make hamburgers. You can also make hard-boiled eggs on this build, since you do not need any water on this build, unlike the Sissela build. SP wise, you want to make either highballs or on the rocks in hotel. You can also make purified water in hotel with any extra water you have boiled in school. People will be contesting Hotel Tree, and you might run into people that are stronger than you, so be wary. For the Elegance CDR build, your route is Hospital, Pond, Avenue, Uptown, Temple. Between Hospital and Pond, you can make Send Vitality by making acupuncture needles in Hospital and herbal medicine in Pond. You can also make pound cake if you didn't find needles or alcohol in Hospital. SP wise, you want to make ice water or soju. Since you want to aim for Send Vitality, I would make ice water because you should save your alcohol for the Send Vitality. Next, we have Adriana. There are 2 main weapons for Adriana, Incendiary Bomb or Smoke Bomb. You might see some David Sling or Antioch builds, but they aren't as common. For Incendiary Bomb, your route would be Avenue, Forest, Beach, Hotel. You need to be quite quick with this build since you need to contest Hotel Tree, so you need to speedcraft. For this build, I would make healing potions. You only need 1 glass bottle for your build, so I just hold on to the extra bottle, and hopefully you can grab 1 more. In Forest, make orchids and combine them to make healing potions. You can also make choco pies and Avenue and butter-related food like chocolate chip cookies, honey butter, and pound cake. But since you need to speedrun your build, making butter food is highly not recommended as it takes too long. SP wise, you struggle with Adriana early on until you level your passive, so either make honey milk in Avenue Forest or chocolate milk in Avenue. If you don't find honey, milk, or chocolate in Avenue, just make honey water in Forest. For Smoke Bomb, your route is Avenue, Factory, Uptown, Beach. I did find a route that uses Mavericks, but because of the Mavericks being nerfed so heavily, I would not recommend unless you make a second pair of shoes on your route since you get negative attack speed with Mavericks on. For this build, you can make a bunch of butter-related food in Avenue, but again, I don't recommend this early on as you want to be quick and grabbing 6 and making butter food takes time. I would make mocha bread between Factory and Uptown if you are quick enough and if there aren't a lot of people starting in Uptown. You can make choco pies in Avenue if there are too many people starting in Uptown. You can also make curry croquettes in Factory. SP wise, you want to make honey milk in Avenue. You also make cola for your weapon, so if you grab extra cans in Avenue or in Beach, I would actually turn the 2 extra colas into can of cola, which is the best SP drink in the game, providing 1400 SP. And last but not least, Shoichi. Shoichi only uses 1 weapon, the Mount Slicer, and there are 2 routes, and really any other route is just variations of these 2. The first route uses Straitjackets, and the second route uses Tachyon Brace. For the Straitjacket build, the route goes temple, school, forest, beach, uptown. In temple, you want to make garlic bread. Garlic bread is good starting food that provides 500 HP. You technically make hot ramen and garlic ramen between temple and school, but you won't have the inventory space for it, and it takes a lot of time early on that you should be using to loot. Plus, you need 2 lighters for this build, one for your weapon and the other for shoes. If you somehow find more than 2 lighters in school, boil at least one of your waters and make hard-boiled eggs or oriental concoctions in forests. Shoichi is one of the most SP-reliant characters in the game, so you want to make sure that you have enough SP. So if you do boil water, I'd actually use 2 of the boiling water to make hot honey water in forest. If you can't find extra lighters, make soju in school or honey water in forest. You'll want to make a lot of SP drinks for Shoichi to pull off this combo. If you want to learn more about SP, feel free to check out my SP guide, which will be shown in the top right corner of the screen now, as well as linked in the description. For the Tachyon brace build, your route goes factory, chapel, forest, school, alley. In factory, you can make curry croquettes. In chapel, you can make pound cake. But the food I would recommend for you to make would be healing potions. Grab glass bottles in chapel, and once you reach forest, make orchids and combine the two to make healing potions. You can use your bread to make hamburgers. You can make curry buns as cheap food in factory, but they only provide 450 HP, which is not ideal for fighting. SP-wise, you want to make cowboys in chapel by grabbing whiskey and milk. You can also boil the water that you start with, since you don't need water with this build. With the boiling water, you can make hot honey water in forest. You can use boiling water to make hard-boiled eggs and or oriental concoctions in forest as well. In the next video, I will be covering the next 6 characters in Eternal Return Black Survival, which include Emma, Lennox, Rosie, Luke, Kathy, and Adela. If you like these types of videos, please leave a like on this video. If you missed the first part of the series, feel free to check it out on the right side. Some of the food mentioned in this video didn't make sense to you, or you want to hone in on your food knowledge, feel free to check out my Basics of Food video on the left. If you aren't familiar with drinks or SP items as well, feel free to check out my Basics to Beverages guide. I also stream 4 times a week on Twitch, and I can answer any other questions you might have. I hope to see you there.